But of course, you can still call those stars. But there is a distinction between a star that is alive, which is burning its thermonuclear fuel, and one whereby there is no thermonuclear fuel left anymore, no heat source inside anymore. So I call that the skeleton, the leftover, the dead bodies. And the white dwarfs, neutron stars, and black holes, all three fall into that category. Does that answer your question? Oh, it was you. I was looking in the wrong direction. You know why I was looking in the wrong direction? My error circle was too large.
Thank you for your presentation. Which one is more in the universe, birth or death? Which one is more in the universe, birth or death?
What's more common in the universe?
It's English, you know.
Birth of stars or death of stars?
Very nice question. Give me 10 seconds. What would you say, Eric? If you took the universe as a whole, what is more are more stars formed by birth than death? I think it depends on when you look at the universe. If you looked at our universe 100 billion years from now, it would probably all be death. But if you look at the universe and when it's 1 billion years old, it's probably all new formation. So I think it depends on the epoch, on when you would make the observation. If you ask me what it is now, I really cannot give you the answer. I'm sure the answer is known. I do not know the answer, whether at this moment star formation is more important than the dying of stars. It's a very good question. If always star formation would win out over dying, then of course there would never be an end to our universe, right? Which may be true, but that's not the case. We do think that ultimately the whole thing will come to an end and that all the thermonuclear fuel will be used and then you end up with black holes, white dwarfs, and neutron stars. So there must come a time that the death is more important than the formation. Whether that is now, I do not know. Was it you who asked the question? Oh boy, my vision is not so good anymore.
La Tierra está formada, entre otros muchos metales, hierro y otros más pesados. Eso quiere decir que proviene de la explosión de una estrella de neutrones.
The Earth is formed, among other things, of iron and other heavy materials. That means that it comes from the explosion of a neutron star.
¿De dónde viene el hidrógeno que formó el Sol?
But where does the hydrogen that forms the sun come from?
All right. It's a very good question. At the birth of the universe, that means I'm going back 13.7 billion years ago. Originally, there was practically only hydrogen, that means protons, and there was some helium, and there was a teeny-weeny little bit of deuterium. Deuterium is also hydrogen, but it has one extra neutron. Then, as the universe cooled, it was extremely hot, the original explosion of the Big Bang. As the material cooled, atoms were being formed. Not in the beginning, there were no atoms. It was just protons, helium nuclei, and deuterium. Atoms were formed. And then you get clustering. And they get local areas which become gravitationally held together. And they fall into each other. Kinetic energy is produced, and stars are being formed. So in the beginning of the universe, these stars, which were formed, were very massive, by the way, had a very short lifetime. What was your question? What? Excuse me?
Where come the hydrogen that forms the sun?
Say it again, what's the question?
The hydrogen that forms the sun.
Okay, so the hydrogen, the universe was just plastered with hydrogen. Hydrogen was just is the dominant element even today in the universe, number one. But your question is a very good one. Why are you here? You are made of carbon, you're made of magnesium, of silicon, of nitrogen, of neon, of argon. All of that comes from supernova explosions. So you own your life, and I own my life to the supernova explosions. Those supernovae create all those high elements, which we call it high Z elements in physics. That means they have more and more protons in the nuclei, and they ultimately can create people like you and me. Takes maybe 10 billion years, but that's the way it works. It's a very good question. It's a I describe this in my book. So everything that you see around, if you see a cup that you drink from, all that material once was processed in stars which underwent supernova explosions. Yeah. And some of that material can be used for birth of new stars too. That depends on the circumstances.
You have told that at the end the black holes doesn't... Okay. Vale. Okay, hello. You have told that the black holes doesn't radiate anything, but there are the theory of the Hawking radiation. Do you think that this is something real, and in the end the black holes will disappear, or the black holes will remain until some undefined date?
Okay, I was afraid that question would come. Yeah. This gentleman raises a very interesting point. He has been polluted by Stephen Hawking's books. And Stephen Hawking made a major contribution to black holes. Stephen Hawking made a prediction, which is generally accepted, that black holes can evaporate, that they do not live forever. And the radiation that is then released is given the name Hawking radiation. Okay. Now, this may well be true, but there is no observational evidence for that. People have searched for that, but have not been able to find it. But there is a reason why we may not have been able to find it. And the reason is the following, that the more massive the black hole is, the longer it will take for that black hole to evaporate. And I will give you a number. If I take a black hole which has 30 times the mass of the sun, which is a modest black hole, nothing unusual, then it takes 10 to the power 71 years to evaporate. A 1 with 71 zeros. Think about it. The universe is only 14 billion years old. So those black holes effectively live forever. 10 to the 71 years. However, if you take a very small black hole, one that is only 1 gram, in principle you could, then it would evaporate very quickly. And so Stephen Hawking will say, rightly so, well, all those small ones are all gone, that's why you don't see them. And the big ones are still there and they will not evaporate. And I don't try to be in any way disrespectful, because it is generally accepted that his radiation, Hawking radiation, is indeed the case, except that it is unobservable. And so indeed, black holes, given enough time, would then evaporate. And that was your question. It's a very good question.
Bueno, son las 8:30, vamos a terminar aquí. Muchísimas gracias a todos por habernos acompañado hoy. Y de nuevo, muchísimas gracias al profesor Lewin. Si queréis que os firme los libros, podéis subir y os los firmará.
Of course. After the surgery,